So we were talking about 1942, and America had gotten to work in the Pacific region battling the Japanese. They had a crucial victory at the Battle of Midway, and the United States and Great Britain had launched an invasion into North Africa to try to secure that location and cut off oil supplies to Nazi Germany. And while that's going on, the Soviet Union is battling back in Stalingrad. Remember, we said this is a very important city for a number of reasons, and eventually, the Soviet Union, the Red Army, is able to fight back against the Germans and start to develop an offensive campaign where from now on they're not just defending their area, they're going to be pushing the Germans back. And this is going to mark, the Battle of Stalingrad is going to mark an important time period. It's the first time we really see the German army being defeated on land. The Air Force had obviously struggled in trying to subdue Great Britain. But now, for the first time, you're seeing the Nazis lose on land, and the Russians have a little bit of fighting spirit here. And not only that, but Joseph Stalin had basically, by this point, had said there will be no surrender. It's we're going to win or we're going to die trying. And ironically, the Russian soldiers were more afraid of Stalin than they were of Hitler and the German army. And so the Red Army, one of the advantages they also had, other than the fact that the winter makes life difficult for the Germans and the scorched earth, they have a large number of people. The sheer volume of people are going to overwhelm the Germans in some instances. And so the Battle of Stalingrad is going to be very ugly, and not all of it's a traditional type of battle. What you see here, there's a lot of guerrilla warfare, meaning that they're not in a typical fighting situation. They're not always wearing uniforms. There's a lot of urban warfare, meaning within the city, you're seeing people running around, taking shots at the Germans whenever they get an opportunity, or taking shots at Russian soldiers in the Red Army. You see situations like this where in the background you can see a bombed out city where German airplanes and German artillery have unleashed a large amount of devastation to the city, but there's still people walking around. It is the definition, the epitome of a war zone. And after months of fighting, the final result is going to be terribly ugly. This little infographic is really good because it shows you the devastation involved. First of all, you see on the right, there's over 40,000 civilians who are going to die as a result of this particular battle. More than 2 million people combined are going to participate in the Battle of Stalingrad. And what's really scary is almost everybody ends up being a casualty. And what we mean by that is that they're either dead or wounded. The casualty total, 1.9 million people dead or wounded over what amounts to about a 7-month time frame. And the average lifespan of a soldier is 24 hours. That is absolutely terrifying. That if you go into the Battle of Stalingrad and you're fighting, you could probably make it a day. And you see also that even though the Red Army is going to push the Germans back, they have more casualties. It's kind of frightening to see that. So the temperatures as well, minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit. That is crazy to even think about. Trying to, your life is in danger from an enemy army, and at the same time you're worried because it's cold. People here go nuts when it gets single digits in temperatures. Imagine 20 degrees colder and trying to fight in that particular element. So the Battle of Stalingrad is going to end up a victory for the Soviets, and Germany finds themselves on the losing side of a battle for the first time. So now 1942, things are starting to turn. Okay, 1943, the Allies, Great Britain and the United States and some French help, they're going to launch their second major invasion. Remember, they went to North Africa first, and what you see right here is the Germans fled North Africa and went to Italy to escape. And so that's where the Allies are going to invade next. You see the Allies, this map shows you the invasion into mainland Italy and Sicily. Sicily, the little island off the coast of the boot of Italy there. And so the American and British Army are going to follow them there. And when they invade Italy, you've got German forces there, you can see on the map as well, but you also have the Italian army. But the Italian people lose faith in Mussolini pretty quickly. Benito Mussolini is going to be kicked out of office. Technically, the Kingdom of Italy was still a kingdom, And the king was afraid because Mussolini had the support of the people up until they started losing the war. And all of a sudden, then the people start to turn, and the king kicks Mussolini out of his position. Mussolini was arrested initially, and the funny thing, the Nazis actually broke him out of prison, and he's on the run for the rest of the war, and it's not going to turn out well for him. But Mussolini is ousted, and now all of a sudden the Italians are going to start helping the Allies to an extent. And what you're going to see for the next year throughout 1943, the United States Army is going to, along with the British, of course, is going to fight its way through Italy. They land at various locations, and you see along this line, if you zoom in on the Italian boot, the Germans have set up lines of fortifications. They're going to make it extremely difficult for an enemy army to advance any further than those positions. And so they're going to make this as difficult as humanly possible. But throughout 1943, America is slowly pushing forward along with the British Army, trying to free Italy from Axis control. Okay? The Soviet Union in 1943 continues to push Germany backwards, and now all of a sudden you see something very interesting. The Germans are facing pressure from two sides. The Soviet army, the Red Army, is pushing from the east, pushing in on Germany, and the Americans and the British are coming up from the south through Italy. So now they've got a problem, okay? And while that's going on, the United States is still busy over in the Pacific region, okay? One major battle there, you see all of these various islands, but one really difficult battle is reclaiming what's called the island of Guadalcanal. You see it on this map listed in red down there. It's near Australia. That particular battle we mentioned because it is one of the first battles in terms of reclaiming land at a very high cost. It's high casualties for the Americans and the Japanese, and the Americans start to realize there are a lot of problems associated with island warfare in the Pacific. The element is dangerous. There's diseases like malaria that could be a problem, and not only that, the Japanese seem to want to follow through with the idea of we're going to fight until the very last man. And so the Americans get a really good close-up glimpse of what this war is going to be like. So slowly through Italy, the United States is pushing with the British Army. Over in the Pacific region, they're taking these islands back one at a time, and you can see also the island groups that are highlighted or circled in this particular region. The United States has to push the Japanese armed forces out of each of those island groups. It's going to be a very slow process that even in 1943 is going to take a couple more years to complete.